Hey everybody, it's your buddy Work. This is part 2 of my almost a whole year not posting a video catch-up for my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Planescape Turn of Fortune's Wheel campaign. Again, I play once a month on Sunday, and I've played D&D for a very long time, and Planescape, and so we thought we would give this a shot. So this pretty much will take us through the end of Turn of Fortune's Wheel. And I knew we were getting close and things were kind of getting out of order, so I kind of had to take a little bit of artistic license with this and try to figure out what I was going to do next. Also at this point is when I bought Shadow Dark RPG. So I really liked Shadow Dark RPG, even though I don't necessarily like a lot of random rolls. I haven't played it yet, but closer and closer. We keep getting very close to playing it. I have an adventure for it in my head to try, and I'm sure I'll post a video about it whenever that happens. But as far as so that got me into Arcane Library and watching videos, and I saw Kelsey explaining her adventures for 5th edition that she had written. So I went in and I bought an adventure pack and got the Gate of the Lens Wizards, which is a high level adventure. So I decided, so whenever they finish Turn of Fortune's Wheel, they would go into Gate of the Lens Wizards. So that's where they're at now. So I'm just trying to catch up here with the videos, with the YouTubes. The group had decided to bypass Shemeshka and go straight to the Tyrant's Tower. The tower knew where it was, the Mimir knew where it was. They were able to backtrack and triangulate and get there and do all of that stuff. I think at that point I actually ran the last chunk of the Mausoleum of Chernepsis, where Rennie's like, "Thanks guys," and like runs off to the mausoleum with all the dragons and everything. So they get to the Tyrant Spiral, and they get in there, and they understand that they're trapped in there, same as the Modrons, and they're trying to catch up to the Modrons, and it's just a sea of Modrons, and they're fighting Beholder stuff, and they're fighting basically against the environment, and they're trying to help the Modrons, but like they realize the Modrons are dying at an alarming rate. They realize that they're all terrified of the place. The whole place is super spooky, all kinds of stuff. I ran through all the adventures and all the basically the landmarks and everything. It was difficult, but it wasn't crazy. The party got up to the Sexton, or whatever he was, that was possessed. Sexton, Hexon, whatever. That was possessed. I was giving them... So the way I prevented the party from being killed immediately was that I allowed the Modrons to engage, right? The leader Modrons, the high level, high functioning, super genius Modrons, I mean, I think they're written like they don't really talk, like they're single-minded in their objective and don't have time for the affairs of mortals or whatever. So I bent that and had them interact, and then during the interaction, then they realized these guys were helping, and they were talking about Rome, and then they realized it was R04M, and they were able to connect that a little bit more, and that he had gotten out, and that they were there to help, and all of this, that it wasn't reality, and so then they had like logic issues, so they were more susceptible to understand, to trusting the party. So they used the Mimir to get the big, the big typhoon thing out of it. And instead of the party having to fight the Modrons in order to free them, and then the party having to fight this force of nature or whatever, planar incarnation, whatever it was, So they basically face the planar incarnation with the help of the Modrons. So it was not. I mean, it was a big fight, but it wasn't especially difficult because the Modrons are just so badass. So they did that. They completed that. The Modrons basically went back home. Like they cracked the puzzle and got out of there, and the Modrons went back home. And the party was kind of like, what do we do now? And I kind of just let them come to the conclusion of Shemeshka, and that Shemeshka did no information. Like the whole point was that they were doing this job for Shemeshka in exchange for information about themselves and how to get their memories back and all, make themselves whole is what I kept saying, to make themselves whole. And so they decided to go back to Shemeshka. At that point, they had 2 platinum tokens, platinum chips or whatever, to pass us to the back rooms. They basically, went there. Again, all of these things usually have quite a bit of downtime. I let them, they can gear up, they can do whatever they want, they can go, they can do research, so whatever they prefer. Giving them tons of prep time, whatever they want. And so yeah, they go to the back rooms. They looked at all of the games and checked everything out. They kind of realized what was going on with the skull with the portals, like the hub between the back rooms. They traded. Oh, the wizard, Connor's wizard, traded his dark secret that he got from the Book of Vile Darkness and the Baronoloth in the Spire. He traded that information for another token. So they went and they played games that they figured out that they needed to win a bunch and then get accused of cheating, and that would get them into the office. So that's what they decided to do. And they found the games where there were the adventurers and you could give them support. So they went there and they basically gave the adventurers their own gear, and the adventurers won. So they won over and over and over, and then they got escalated to the big bad boss. So they go up to Shemeshka's office. There's those 2 cardinal archons. There's the Eater of Thoughts and the Maleficent, and there's Shemeshka. I feel like I did a pretty good job of describing her office. All the silks and the perfume and the leering foxes everywhere. They understood that was her lair and that she's a high-level fiend. Like, I made sure they understood everything. They talked to her at length. She was very derogatory to them. She was very condescending to them, and so they started a fight. All I had her do were lair actions, so I didn't have her engage with the fight except for whenever they would directly attack her, and usually she would counterspell. She had that fell counterspell. So they're fighting, and it's like, the paladin did some sort of fear. He did a fear roar. He's a Leonel. He did a fear roar, and it was like the 2 that failed were immune to fear. Stuff like that. Like, every time something would happen, most of them would save, and the ones that didn't save would be resistant to whatever it was. So it was a long fight. And they were not super effective. They were able to kill the Maleficent and the Eater, but then, so Shemeshka still hadn't really been engaged. The lair actions were really wearing them down. They were starting to heal, so they were losing actions to healing, and the Cardinals they're just tough as nails. So they were struggling with that, and they threw the paladin stepped up to Shemeshka, and I had her banish him. So she banished him, and he went home. for a minute. And without the paladin, the rest of the party was kind of like, oh, this is not going to go real well. And she was like, so I slid back into role playing from combat, and I was like, you've killed my most expensive guards, maybe I've been too hasty, maybe the direction we've gone, maybe we should be working together instead of working, against one another. If you can let bygones be bygones, maybe we can both come out of this arrangement ahead, and kind of talk this out. And they basically agreed to a truce, and she agreed to make them whole if they would do another fetch mission for her. And they were like, we're done being your sacrificial gophers and whatever. And she's like, no. So she explained in not so many words that she is beholden to someone else. She is following the directions of someone else, and all of this are that the thing with the Modrons and everything is at the behest of someone else that she's in arrangement with and cannot discuss their identity or the arrangement or anything that's going on, but she has liberty to work in her own ways. And so she, without going into too much detail, wants them to recover this power core, and then the power core will allow them access to a prison. And in the prison, they can free someone who can help her from this situation. So it's an enemy of my enemy kind of thing. So they're going into an enemy of my enemy arrangement with their enemy to free the enemy of that enemy. So that's kind of my premise for all of this late stage stuff. She made them whole. I made them level 16 instead of 17 because the high level quest from Arcane Library is level 15. I was like, I can just pad some hit points and that'll be fine. Did that. I gave them access to items. I let them build their final party, whatever they wanted, their prime glitch, whatever incarnations. Did all of that. And then we had just started the beginning of the Arcane Library adventure, the Gate of the Lens Wizards. So they never really defeated Shemeshka. Shemeshka is still in power. She lost a couple bodyguards, and she lost a few trapped souls. That was the thing, was they really wanted to release the souls, but they weren't able to. They didn't have the bargaining power to do that. They really wanted to. A couple of the paladins specifically really wanted to. Now it's his goal to free those souls also. So he has more of a goal, but he's lawful enough to realize, they're in stasis. They're not going anywhere. She's not absorbing them for power or anything. Like, she's just trapped them. So it's his plan to free all those souls. That's like his overarching objective. So yeah, so we're starting the Gate of the Lens Wizards. They got a little bit into that. I'll save that for another video too. But that pretty much gets you caught up to where we are now. We'll be playing again next week. Like I said, at level 16, and I'll go through the characters and stuff at that point. Well, we did lose one player. So we started this whole thing with 5 players. One of the players was great, Jesse. That was the friend of my wife's co-worker. So they were colleagues at the university, and she had just recently moved here, and he played role-playing games, and I played role-playing games, and he kind of kept trying to put us together. And he made maybe 3 sessions, and he separated from his spouse. So my wife asked, well, actually he volunteered to drop out of the group just so it wouldn't be awkward for my wife. So we went with that. So that was unfortunate. We lost a good player. He was a nice guy. No hard feelings there. And right now I am fishing for 1 or 2 more players. just because people get busy, especially now that we're heading into summer, and you kind of got to understand that and be flexible. But I also like to have at least 3 players, so people can kind of play off of one another and are more able to brainstorm. I think 4 or 5 is ideal, but 3 is kind of my minimum. So I would like to get 1 more in there. If we get 2 more in there and just plan on one being gone all the time, we'll see. So that's kind of where we're at with that. If you have any questions, post them down below. Again, subscribe, like, share, all of the YouTube algorithm things. Please do those things. And that's it. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything, I'm on Discord. I'm all over the place. I'm your buddy Work and D&D Hobbyist, and yeah, your buddy on the internet, still playing D&D. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one.